Hey everybody, welcome to Spirited Food. My name is Andrew and I'm your chef and nutritionist. Thank you for tuning in today. I want to tell you about our special community we have going on Skool. Here's the address where you can join for free. I want to encourage you to join our community. There's lots of free stuff. You get to meet interesting people and get more education on nutrition, food, and cooking. That's what we're all about here. Today, we are talking about inflammation. I made a special video for you which outlines inflammation, some of the causes, and I hope you enjoy it. Welcome into Spirited Food, everyone. This is Chef Andrew, and today we're going to be talking about inflammation. What is it? Where does it occur? How does it get started? What's the deal with inflammation? This is a major issue with a lot of people, and what I've found is that a large percentage of the cause of inflammation is dietary. So we're going to hit the major areas of dietary causes of inflammation, as well as some other ones. I'll tell you about the two different types. So with that, let's jump in. Okay, so when we talk about inflammation, I want it to be clear that normally this is a natural response. This is the body's normal response to illness. If you have a cold or you get exposed to some kind of bacteria or something that makes you sick, this is the way our body normally responds to that sort of thing. Same with injuries, physical injuries, bruises, etc. You will get an inflammation response for that. If you exercise very intensely, you can get an inflammation response. Or if there's a foreign substance like a chemical you get exposed to, like, antifreeze, spray paint, anything like that, and you get it on your skin or you may breathe it in, you can get an inflammation response from that also. Now, there are two main types of inflammation. We have acute inflammation, which is a short-lived response that can come on very quickly. In the case of, say, a branch falls on your arm and gives you a bruise, you will be welting up within a few minutes, and that again is a natural response. It's a natural inflammation response that our body does to try to heal that area. And then second, there is chronic inflammation. Now, this is a response of much longer duration, which could be weeks or months, depending on what it is. So what separates the two between acute and chronic is going to be the time that you're actually experiencing this inflammation response. Now, if you get a fever when you have a bacterial infection, that's an indication of a properly functioning immune response. But if the inflammation response does not turn off after it's no longer needed, well, that's when it becomes an issue. If we get infected by a cold virus or have a physical injury, that can cause our body's immune response to kick in. Now, the way that this works is, first, our body sends in cytokines, which those are signaling cells that will direct the inflammatory cells to deal with whatever the cause of the inflammation was. Our inflammatory response serves to trap any invaders like viruses or bacteria and to begin repairing the damaged tissues. And that causes increased blood flow to the area, for one thing, which results naturally in inflammation. Now, if all this is functioning normally, the cytokines and the inflammatory cells and white blood cells are one example of inflammatory cells. They serve to, heal and clean the body of any foreign invaders. Well, normally functioning, they will leave the injured area or the infected area when the threat is over or the injury is healing. And then blood flow slowly returns to normal levels, and that is that. But the system does not always turn off, and that could usually be caused by prolonged presence of an irritant or an invader. Now, here's what can cause inflammation. Acute inflammation, remember that's the short-term one, can be caused by an injury, which could be a pulled muscle. It could be caused by a food allergy, consumption of too much salt, standing for too long. You can get swollen legs or feet from doing that, excessive heat exposure, or being exposed to a chemical or irritant, as we've said. Now, that's not an exhaustive list, but that's some of the major ones that can be involved in acute inflammation. Now, chronic inflammation is much more complicated, but can manifest in these ways. They're much more uncomfortable. You could have bowel irritation, joint pain, skin rashes, stomach cramps, abdominal pain, chest pain, fever, acid reflux, mouth sores. You could even swing into depression and anxiety from chronic inflammation, and also getting frequent infections, because your immune system really becomes worn out after a time, depending on the length of the chronic inflammation, and that makes you more susceptible to getting more infections. Now, I believe still diet is the main cause of chronic inflammation today, and that results from the intake of processed foods, highly refined seed oils such as canola oil, and an unbalanced diet. Dietary causes are harder to notice because this type of inflammation starts from the inside and works its way out. Now, here's the truth about dietary inflammation. The right foods, prepared correctly, can help to improve and or reverse common chronic diseases. These include inflammation, diabetes, high blood pressure or hypertension, and obesity. And I'll tell you, that is one of the central themes of Spirited Food. That is one of the reasons that I do what I do, is that I know the right foods prepared correctly can help improve or reverse common chronic diseases. That's what this is all about. Now, by contrast, a diet high in irritant foods like canola oil and highly refined flours and chemical-filled processed foods can cause and maintain inflammation in the body. Major categories of common irritant foods include sugar, canola and other seed oils, highly processed foods like packaged foods, a lot of the frozen foods, and the shelf-stable foods that could either come in cans or in those little, pouches that are on the shelf. Now, the reason these highly processed foods are considered irritant foods is due to the lack of nutrition in them, and they have a very high concentration of preservatives in them. Fast foods, another category, they are also high in preservatives, the bad oils, some non-food ingredients, which I call things like the fillers and those weird fake meat things and just other stuff they put in foods to bulk it out, to make it less expensive for the producers to make. And also they're ultra processed, which means most of the nutrition has been removed and you're left with these highly refined starches and sugars and preservatives. That's the reason that fast foods generally are in the irritant food category. And grains, another major category of irritant food, especially wheat, is inflammatory just by their nature. Now, gluten has been blamed, and for a lot of people, gluten is a real issue. But for a lot of other people who still react to things like wheat, rye, barley, etc., it could be from the drying agents, the chemical drying agents that they spray on these grains that do not get removed in the processing. I believe it's both, and I do know that the drying agents can cause skin rashes, joint irritation, and other things. We are slowly poisoning ourselves with these chemical drying agents, and they can definitely wreak havoc on your immune system for sure. That's why it's important to eat organic grains if you're going to eat them. And one other major contributor to all of this irritant foods is high glycemic foods. Now, we'll get more into that in another video, but basically what I mean by that is foods that elevate your blood sugar quickly and keep it up high for an extended period of time, which would be more than 2 hours after you eat it. So what do we do about this? Well, balance, as always, is the key, and that is one of the tenets of spirited food that I teach here is balance is the key. What does that mean? What does that look like? Well, regularly consuming a diet that is high glycemic can maintain your inflammation. So we balance the diet by limiting and reducing the high glycemic foods. We intake more plant foods, vegetables, and low glycemic fruits. And we add low glycemic vegetables to each meal to help balance your meal plan. So all green vegetables and vegetables of different colors like orange, red, and yellow, all good choices. Next, we want to eat a variety. And this will help with dietary fiber intake as well as a larger nutrition intake spectrum. And usually when you're eating this way, you're eating more vegetable heavy, you're also eating more water, which helps with the next point, which is to drink more water in addition. Always drink more water. We can exercise daily, even if it's just going out for a walk. Keep it simple, because exercise has been shown to reduce inflammation when done regularly, and that's why I say daily. Next, you can eat a diet rich in fatty fish like salmon, for example, halibut. Also, white fishes work just as well. Fresh fruits and leafy greens, just to name a few. You may also use spices with anti-inflammatory properties like turmeric, ginger, garlic. 3 of my favorites. It's one of the reasons that I do like to promote curries and using these spices in foods to add flavor, but they also have these beautiful extra benefits of being anti-inflammatory. And lastly, this one's a big one. This is very important. Focus on eating low inflammatory oils like avocado oil, coconut oil, and olive oil. Those are my 3 favorites. And doing that will bring balance to your diet and help reduce inflammation or prevent it if you don't already have it going on. All right, that's it for this session. I hope you learned something and see you soon.